How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to 2A News Now. I hope everybody's doing well, and I appreciate you taking your time tuning into my video. Ooh, I got a real good one for you guys today. The ATF showed up unannounced at a Florida gun shop to audit the FFL, but abruptly had to leave because the gun shop hadn't even used their license yet and hadn't sold a single firearm under that license. Chris Smith is the owner of a gun shop in Milton, Florida. And Milton, Florida is located in the Panhandle, in the Pensacola area. The name of his gun shop is Gulf Coast Gun and Outdoors, and Chris Smith says his business is being targeted by the ATF. As I mentioned, Chris Smith owns a gun shop in Milton, Florida, and he says the ATF is retaliating against him for his criticism of the agency. The criticism came during a June hearing in Okaloosa County when Smith testified about the ATF and the way it has been handling FFL licensing. Smith said ATF agents audited one of his FFL licenses in retaliation after he vocalized his criticism of the agency. I'm going to play a 2-minute clip that comes from the local news station in that area, and you'll see Chris Smith in the video explaining exactly what happened.
A Milton gun store owner is saying he's being harassed by the ATF for his testimony to members of Congress.
This is not a coincidence.
Chris Smith owns Gulf Coast Gun and Outdoors. He says ATF agents audited one of his gun licenses in retaliation after he criticized the agency during a hearing of the weaponization of the federal government. Smith says Monday he discussed the subject on Newsmax in a segment guest hosted by Congressman Matt Gaetz. Days later, agents arrived at his store.
It backfired on them because we weren't using that '07 license yet. We're transitioning it to it. So there was actually no transactions on that '07 license. So they showed up here, wasted government resources for absolutely no reason. And this is obvious retaliation for me testifying in the hearing and doing that interview on Newsmax.
Smith is not alone in his criticism of the ATF. Miles Schuler also testified in the congressional hearing in June about how his license was revoked by the ATF for a mistake. He says this mistake is impacting his business and livelihood. Schuler is no longer allowed to sell guns.
Over the years, I've had an error before, and I've had a second error now. These errors are there again. You've got an agency that does millions of background checks. They can make a mistake also. They hand me a mistake that goes on my paperwork. ATF says, it's now your mistake.
In a statement to WEAR News, Congressman Matt Gaetz said in part, "I will not allow the ATF to harass one of my constituents because they dared to speak the truth." WEAR News reached out to the ATF and has not yet heard back. Reporting in Santa Rosa County, Aubrey Spears, WEAR News.
So we have out-of-control ATF thugs that retaliated against Chris Smith and Miles Schuler for testifying in a congressional hearing in June. And then the ATF retaliates against both of them, shows up to audit their FFL license. And in Chris Smith's case, they haven't even used their '07 license. And if you don't know what an '07 license is, it lets you both manufacture and sell firearms. And in Miles Schuler's case, they actually revoked his license. And I don't know how long he's had his license for, but he said he's only had 2 mistakes since he's had his FFL. And they revoked his license. And I hope Congressman Matt Gaetz and others in Congress can request some type of hearing and get these cowardly ATF agents in front of Congress and put them on the spot and grill them about their unconstitutional behavior. As always, I would really like to hear thoughts about today's video in the comments section down below. And I really do appreciate everybody's support with the channel. You guys are always crushing it, liking, sharing, and subscribing and hitting those post notifications. And I invite everybody back to see my next video.